have a review with.
Breathe now.
All right, you guys ready? Excellent, excellent. So, like to welcome everybody to the July 16th council work session. We want to welcome everybody who came, and we appreciate your input and interest in local government. It's very important, and we want to hear your comments if you have any. It helps in the decision-making process. There will be an opportunity for you to address the council if you choose to do so. There was a sign-up sheet. Did we have anybody sign up?
It's in the lobby, and
Okay.
not at this time.
Not this, okay, excellent. And with that being said, I just welcome everybody to the meeting. Kim, if you please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Ms. Pillion.
Here.
Ms. Quetch.
Here.
And Mayor Webb.
Here. All right.
Sound works really good.
Yeah, the sound sounds
Yeah, we-
much. You guys hearing pretty well out there? Good, excellent, excellent.
Floyd made some improvements. It's not-
Great, fantastic. So I guess that brings us to the public comments section, and you said we don't have anybody signed up yet? Okay, excellent. So we'll move on then to item D, which is petitions, public hearings, and first reading of ordinances. Up, number one is a public hearing soliciting public input for local community development in relation to Community Development Block Grant, otherwise known as CDBG, proposal to be submitted to the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development for general community support in the COVID Environment Program. The COVID Environment Support Program will include the following activities. It will consist of a partnership between the town, locally owned dine-in restaurants to provide ready-to-go meals and Faith in Action for families in need affected by the COVID pandemic. Tanya Triplett, you are up.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. So we had the first public hearing on July 1st, not last month, but on July 1st for this. We have now expanded that program just a little bit, so we have written our resolution to say up to $200,000. We think that about $60,000 of that will be for the restaurants to provide the meals, and then there will be some monies available for Faith in Action to make some expansions and adjustments to be able to serve these families curbside and to store the food.
All right.
So,
Excellent.
any questions?
Any questions, guys? All right. Well, with that being said, I guess I need to open the public hearing. So the public hearing is open. Do we have anybody that would like to speak? guess a second call for anybody that would like to speak in the public hearing. All right, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask the council if we have any discussion. All right. Well, I would like to thank you, Tanya, for all your hard work. I know this has been a really exciting project for you, and I think it'll do a lot of good, so we're excited.
Yes, we are. Thank you.
We're moving right along to Section E of resolutions. First up, we have a consideration of the resolution authorizing the preparation and filing of the application for community improvement grant funds for COVID response through the Community Development Grant Program. Tanya Triplett.
Oh, that's the, I think there's another one. That's the same one.
Well, we need the resolution.
Yeah, this
Well,
is the, yeah, that was the public hearing. This is the resolution, so.
So you just need somebody to.
All right, so anything else you'd like to add? All right.
Anything?
All right, so this is, of course, pertaining to the public hearing we just had. Council, what's your pleasure?
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we move on this and
Sure.
authorizing, is it Tanya or the town manager?
I think you just move that we adopt the resolution that's attached to the packet.
Okay,
Kim, do we need to say any and all documents to execute?
So just the resolution? All right, so we have a motion then, Donna, you said to approve the
Yes.
resolution as
Yes.
attached
Resolution
to the
says that.
packet? Okay.
yes.
All right, so Vice Mayor Quetch had a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, seconded by Ms. Pillion. So Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson.
Aye.
Ms. Pillion.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
And Mayor Webb.
Aye. All right. Moving right along, item number 2 is discussion regarding resolution determining property located on 130 Wall Street, commonly known as the Abingdon Mercantile, for redevelopment pursuant to Section 36-55.30, colon 2B, Code of Virginia, 1950 as amended. Tanya Triplett.
So we have a developer who's interested in developing a property on Wall Street, who is working through Virginia Housing Authority for a loan. So this resolution, we have the power to pass this resolution, and what it would do is open up this developer for better and more resources with VHDA.
Okay. All right. Council, do you have any questions for Tanya?
Can I ask a question,
Yeah.
Tanya? Tanya, this is designated, this property as like a particular zone? Could you maybe explain what that is?
This particular property,
This
and
particular-
only that property. So
Yeah.
you would have the authority to create zones that need economic development or that could become blighted if it isn't developed.
Okay.
So we did not want to declare that total zone, so we have the power to declare just this one property.
Just this one property?
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
And there's a statute that's referenced in the resolution itself, and that section B is this subsection that applies to this particular provision where it's a mixed use, economically mixed project. So that's the point of all of it. And in order to receive the funding, we have to make this resolution to designate this particular space. So they have to go through us to designate it, but I don't see any reason why the council shouldn't go along with it. It's helping develop a piece of property that's been trying to be developed for quite a while now. So, and this would be the mechanism of it, and it wouldn't cost the town anything to do, so.
Excellent. You guys have any questions? Again, Tanya, I'd just like to thank you.
Thank you.
We certainly want to give these, I guess, developers every opportunity we can to provide some income for the town.
Thank you.
Yes,
Right.
thank you.
And we'll just
so
go
we're
ahead
putting
and.
this on the August 3rd
Correct.
agenda. Of course, we're taking no action today,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, we just wanted to bring this to your attention in
Yep.
case you had any questions. And it would be time to be presented publicly, and
Okay.
we can adopt it on the next meeting.
Okay, all right. So you guys, are you all okay with putting that on the August 3rd agenda? No issues there? All right. Well, if so, Kim, if we add that to the August 3rd agenda. We're moving right along. So we come to new business, discussion regarding a potential lease of space at Coombs Rec Center. Jimmy.
Okay, everybody can hear me okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now that I have the mask on.
No feedback at all?
So a few months ago, or a little while ago, Jennifer and Melisha at the Coombs Center approached me about a potential revenue opportunity at the recreation center. They had vacated some office space or moved to a different part of the building. So there's the offices that they were previously located in is really open space right now. It's available. And so I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer, and she's going to discuss this potential opportunity. There's no action that's really required by the council. We just wanted to discuss this and see if there were any questions or if you had any comments before we moved forward and proceeded anywhere down along with this, because there's still several steps we would have to take in order to make this happen.
Okay,
So.
okay.
Your web council, thank you for taking the time to discuss this and hear this. So I did pass out previously a handout for each of you. So as Mr. Moraney said, it's something that we have kind of talked about because we are often approached by a lot of therapy services that really, we have a lot of different areas of the center that are really specific to some of those therapy needs that we could meet, that they don't have access to pools and their specific environments. So there are other facilities that have done this in the past, so we have researched some of those partnerships. I've even reached out. Tanya Triplett has helped us do those things as well. So the price that we have in front of you, we've kind of looked at the market in the commercial lease area and talked with some realtors and talked with some commercial folks that lease commercial properties to get an idea of a per month. It is a unique space that we would offer. So with that, kind of the lease details, they would have an exclusive dedicated space, which is about that 650 square feet that Mr. Moraney talked about. It used to be the administrative offices prior to us moving those to a better suited location. But they would also have about 882 square feet in a meeting room that they would have exclusively during the day from Monday through Friday to do additional therapy services. And then the shared space, which is in the 36,000 square foot building, which would be the cardio suite, the weight room, the swimming pool, the gym, the indoor walking track. Those would be shared spaces. The shared restrooms, the shared locker rooms during their session times. So kind of some other details on there. I don't know if you want me to read verbatim all of the details on there as far as what the lease details would include. But basically, they would only have access to the facility when our center is operational. So they wouldn't have access to that on their own at times that we're not open. But being a recreation center, when we reopen, we do offer extended hours that surpass hours that therapy services typically offer. So I think those would be taken care of as far as the needs for that office space. Benefits for us, it expands our networking in the community and allows those services to be able to utilize what we have to offer. It is a revenue, so this is just an idea. The 3-year minimum lease can be optional. It can be, some are 5 years, some are 2 years, some are 10 years. So that would be based on what the blessing of the council. But it does give you that revenue stream, that income. With the 45,000 mark, it's $54,000 additional per year that we would have as a revenue stream for the rec center. And then the other potential benefit from that is, in the past, I've been a part of a community center that offered this the lease space. Those clients, when they come in for services in that potential environment, when they're finishing up with those services, they're comfortable with that environment. So they're more likely to kind of set their roots there and become a member, and they know the people, they know the staff, and so it is just beneficial for us to offer that. It's beneficial for them because we're offering health and lifestyle choices in that area. So questions for us?
Can I clarify one thing?
Sure.
For the council? Just this target amount that we put on there, through discussions with CAM, just so you're understanding, we would still have to go through a public bidding process. And that would just be where we would start, because if we were to set a baseline, what we didn't want to do is we didn't want to undercut the private sector market for this space. And so that's why the staff performed research to determine what a reasonable market rate was. But obviously, if there's several interested parties in leasing this space, well, they're just going to have to bid and submit a bid. And that would just be the floor of what that monthly rent or this annual, does that make sense? Okay. Okay.
Is there a known interested party right now?
There's not.
Okay.
And we, before we go out and kind of have those discussions, we wanted to have that blessing before we came, and I had that discussion a couple of weeks ago that, once we get to this point is when those conversations would happen. And I do believe we would have interest in that in the community.
Do you see that space being occupied in that manner creating any more work for you guys? Or do you think it'll be a pretty seamless, venture?
I think it will be pretty seamless. We will be maintaining like the restrooms and the maintenance on
Right.
the building as we do on a daily basis. But that office space in the lease details, they're responsible for the cleanliness of that. As far as building maintenance, they do need to report that to our staff as it is, part of our overall building maintenance. But I don't see that as an issue. It is a completely exclusive blocked area for them. So,
Jennifer and Alicia want more work.
yes, we do. We're up for the challenge.
Well, it sounds like a really good filter to kind of trickle people into the center that maybe wouldn't be there to begin with. So it sounds like a great idea to me, but certainly want the other council members to have input.
I like the idea of using unused space for something gainful, and I like the idea that there's a little bit of a revenue stream. I think that's all good.
Yeah, the space is underutilized, and, I'm actually working in it part-time right now, because it's a huge, there's like three different offices in there, and it just doesn't make sense just to keep it there like that.
And I think it can be kind of a work in process. We've sort of set out these parameters, but we put it out for bid and get some feedback, and then we can be kind of work with other people who are interested in that tailor the price and space and other things, I think,
Right.
along the way.
Work
Right.
on those specifics as we need to once we get a feel for what the market is.
Sure. Any other questions, council?
This
So
this
I
is obviously a long-term plan,
Right,
so.
we don't need to take any action.
No.
Y'all are just getting a feel for the
Yeah.
pulse of the council, right?
We wanted to make sure before we proceeded to do any more work and prepare any kind of public hearing documents or
Right.
any potential sample contract, whatever, we wanted to make sure everybody was comfortable with us moving forward with that. But obviously with the situation at the Coombs Center now, with it not being open, this would be something that we would be looking at, in the future. We don't know when that would be, but we would just want to prepare for it.
Yeah,
so.
sure. Guys, do you have any other questions or comments for them, or?
I might think of some and I'll call
Yeah.
you.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
Well, it
guys
sounds,
call,
it
email,
sounds like
provide
we've got a
Yes.
consensus, the council then. Is everybody okay with allowing them to kind of move forward and explore this option?
Absolutely, and like I said, if you do think of
I
questions,
will.
just reach out, contact myself, contact Melisha. We're there, come by and see us, and,
Well, I heard
we
you
can
guys
show
have
you
been
the
working
space.
hard
We
on the
have.
center. I look
Absolutely.
forward to coming back up there and checking it out.
people can see the changes.
Yeah, excellent, good.
Thank
Well,
you guys so much.
yeah, thank you guys, yeah. All right. So we're moving on to unfinished business. Adoption of revised financial policy guidelines. Jimmy, you're back up.
Sure. As you recall, when David Rose was here on the July 1st meeting, he presented revised financial policies, and these are what we're considering today. We discussed it at the Finance Committee meeting this morning, and Finance Committee recommends that we adopt this. Just so everybody is clear, the main changes to these financial policies are, number one, setting up the budget stabilization fund, which is a recommendation from Davenport and Company, and it sets up a 5-year goal of $1.25 million as sort of a rainy day fund. We call it that. If we ever have a situation like this again, where we have a pandemic or we have a major sales tax generator in the community go out of business or burn down, this sort of is that safety net. In the future, we might not be in a situation where we have to lay off employees or, cease programs or services, while still maintaining that $5 million fund balance in the general fund, which we've identified as something as important. Just so everybody's aware, we had Davenport, myself, and Stephanie Davis were on the calls yesterday for the credit agencies, Moody's and S&P, and they responded very favorably. They also are aware that our $5 million fund balance is probably going to actually increase from the last year to this year. They look very favorably upon that, since we are going to end the fiscal year in the black. And they responded very favorably to the proposed budget stabilization fund, knowing full well that this year there might not be $250,000 that we put in there. Just this year, it's a 5-year process, but it just depends on how we end up at the end of the year. But I think we have the means to at least be able to earmark $150,000 by the end of the fiscal year, based on the way we structured the budget this year. So the other main component of the financial policies is we didn't have anything in there before that mentioned the sewer fund. So this identifies the sewer fund in there as well. So.
Good. Council, do you all have any questions for him? Or?
We can go ahead and move on this, right?
Yeah, I recommend that adoption, make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the revised financial policy.
All right, we've got a motion. Do I have a second? All right, a second by Mr. Anderson. Any discussion? All right. Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson.
Aye.
Ms. Gillian.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
And Mayor Webb.
Aye. All right. So that moves on to matters not on the agenda. Did anybody have matters not on the agenda? I don't think we had anything in there. And the reports from council and staff. Do any of the council members have a report they'd like to make or anything they'd like to mention?
Well, I would like to, again, thank our town manager. I said it earlier today, but I'd just like to make it public, because I'm not sure that we would have ended up in the black had it not been for all his hard work, and Stephanie and Davenport, and so I just want to thank you.
Anybody else have any kind of report or anything of that nature? I know everybody's being tugged in all kinds of different directions. This is a kind of a strange time with the COVID crisis going on, and all the different guidelines and things we're following, and social distancing. It makes it a little bit different when we're having meetings and having to try to sit a certain distance apart and talk through masks and not read lips and all that. But I would like to sort of resonate the same that Donna said. I appreciate the staff, Jimmy, Kim, Tanya, Cam, Melisha, and Jennifer, as well as Chief. We just have a tremendous number of employees that do a fantastic job, and we don't get to praise you guys enough, but especially in times like these when it's very peculiar circumstances, everybody steps up and just creates a lot of good in the community. So I'd just like to thank you guys for that. It truly is a pleasure getting to serve with all of you guys, so just thank y'all for that. Anything else, council?
I just have a question, and I don't want to open up a big can of worms, but I've had several people approach me on either side of the issue of, are we not, or are we closing town hall, and all of this discussion. And so I didn't know if there had been any more discussion about that or what we had decided. I have an opinion, but.
Sure. I mean, I think this is an appropriate time.
Yeah,
to
sure,
ask
absolutely.
Jimmy.
I've been talking with Chief Holbrook. He gets information from the health district on a daily basis on the number of cases in town. Obviously, the county gets it from, on the county level, but we are also, that information is accessible to us. So it was alarming earlier in this week when we learned the last 2 weeks there were, was it 30 new cases, I think, over the previous 2 weeks, John? For Washington County, for the county that is. I think we had 5 new cases over the weekend, and we've had 2 this week. We had 7 over the weekend. Okay. And then I think we had 1 on Tuesday and then 1 today that was announced. So it is concerning. I had talked to the county administrator, Jason Berry, and expressed to him my concerns. I also reached out to the Bristol, Virginia city manager, who I was surprised they did not actually reopen. I did not know that, but they had not reopened their municipal building for the public. They haven't shut down and sent people home. They do have employees, I think, that are teleworking. So I was prepared to do that this week. We had this public meeting today. I thought I could get through this public meeting. I wanted to talk to one of the local health officials and circle back with John. If we did it, I would possibly make it similar to what the county did by appointment only. I understand that there's frustration, we want to move forward, we're going in the right direction, this and that, but I also have to protect the employees that are here in the building and the citizens coming in, and we do have some employees that are concerned, and we've already had an incident where vendors come in and 2 different establishments and potentially exposed, thankfully, knock on wood, we had negative tests on that. And with the alarming increase in rates locally, I'm inclined to take that action. I'm open to suggestions on, from staff. I told the staff earlier this week that that's something that I more than likely will do. I'm just concerned about it. We do have people at Town Hall with compromised immune systems and who do have the ability. Thankfully, some of them can work at home, and we have a few that are working from home. And I'm one of them that is working from home a lot of times. But the last 2 days I've been here entirely. There aren't things I can do completely at home. I do have some underlying medical issues. So it might be unpopular with some people in the public, but sometimes we have to make unpopular decisions. I don't think that our staff feels that we can't serve the residents and the businesses by staying closed, 8 hours a day to the public while still being here. We still take payments over the phone. We still have the ability to take plans and permits from contractors and applicants that come in specifically on the first floor. We had a box there. And I would even be willing to say, hey, if we need to make it appointment-based and somebody needs to come in to discuss something quick, we've already reserved the conference rooms for, meetings, more than 2. I'm going to instruct the staff to not go in each other's offices. I was going to send something out at the end of the day, keep everybody on their levels, just basically taking some extra precautions so we can move ahead and try to stave this off a little bit. But I don't think that the services and the services that we provide will be impacted if we do that. So I'm obviously open for any comments or questions about that.
Well, as you know, my background is healthcare, so I've
Yeah.
worked in hospitals. I understand the seriousness of the situation. I truly do. At the same time, while our numbers are rising in our area, it's a bit misleading when you look, say, I always look every day at the COVID on the Weather Channel app, and if it says ours have risen 25%, well, if we've only had 95 cases, 25% of 95 is a lot less scary than 25% of 1,000.
Yeah,
So my concern is that while we do have cases that are increasing, and that is to be expected since we aren't on a complete lockdown, and all of that, I worry that I don't want us as leaders in the community to send a message of panic or fear to out there. I think that we need to work toward, and I know it's not going to happen all at once because the situation doesn't call for it, but I think we need to work toward moving toward normal operations, as it is appropriate, and do things like what you said, like have appointments and try to stay open as best as possible and work in the building as much as possible in a socially distant, responsible way. I just feel like I've seen a lot of just almost panic this week, and then when you do the math, in Washington County, it's less than 1% of the population has been affected, which I pray that it stays that way because that's what we want. But I've had several people ask me on both sides of the issue,
Yeah.
and so I felt like I needed to clarify.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought it up because I hadn't made a decision yet, and I think what I'm going to try to do is try to, and we've even talked about what we're going to do at the staffing, levels. Previously, when the pandemic hit first, we, everybody was just kind of in panic. It was way worse than it is now. Now people are a little bit more relaxed, which is good and bad to some degree. But everything just shut down. We had people, we had shifts, and we had some workers working on certain shifts, and other workers won't. But I think we will not be in that situation again, where we basically, have, okay, you're going to work this shift, you're going to work this shift, and we had real concerns. It was also, we didn't know what was going to happen in the summertime. Is it going to be better in the summertime? So everybody was very, very cautious when it first happened. I think we might be able to come up with a compromise that doesn't quite close down the entire facility, and we maybe restrict entrances. And I've been thinking about that the last couple days, so as not to, basically close off 100% public access to the building, but just control it better. It's just tough to have the resources, and we don't want to have to dedicate a staff person to say, okay, now before you can come in. So that's the difference. If you're closing it down, you're preventing anybody from coming in. If you have it partially open, then you have to basically have somebody monitor that and enforce, okay, why are you coming in? Do you have a mask? Those things. So I'm going to try to come up with maybe a compromise, a hybrid thing where we say we're going to maybe close off certain access to it, but this is how we can provide you services if you want to come to town hall.
I think that's great. I think we just need a plan to move forward, and hopefully, we'll be able to move towards normal in the future, in the near future. So, I think that as long as we're thinking ahead and have a plan, then we'll be in better shape.
And the governor announced yesterday that there are going to be some Department of Labor.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, yeah.
Regulations that are coming out, and as I understand it, they'll be published on the 27th, so that'll probably give some.
Yeah, and that's
required
specifically,
guidance.
it's a workforce issue, so it kind of goes in lines with some of the concerns that the employees are having here, but also across the state. Is that going to be administered through OSHA, or do you know, or the Virginia agency?
Kind of in combo.
Okay.
Technically, the regulations will come out through State Department of Labor.
The Department of Labor, I'm sorry, yeah, the State Department of Labor, and I wanted to have a call with the CAM on Monday to kind of go over these to know what, so you're saying the regulations won't even be published until the 27th? Okay, I thought it was going to be published like today, because they sent that email out yesterday.
He made an announcement yesterday, but then.
No
apparently
specifics,
they're
though.
not going to be out.
Okay,
until
well, then
later
maybe
on.
we can talk about it then a week after then. So that's going to kind of go in line, and it's going to actually be some mandates for employers to say they have to clean certain services. So we could be in a position where we do have to dedicate some staff to do this, because the law is going to require that, cleaning surfaces and things like that, which if we're opening the building more and making it more accessible, it's going to create more labor. So maybe we can come up with a modified approach where we say, okay, this is the building or this is the rooms that we're going to allow the public to come in, and maybe not let them go on a certain level. We're going to keep everybody on this level. So, but we'll be reviewing those regulations, and by the end of the week, I'll make a decision on what we're going to do after talking to staff. So. Anybody else have any questions? Or?
No questions for me specifically. Well, that was very thoughtful.
Yes.
I completely agree. I think, there has to be a balance to try to protect the community as well as the employees. We certainly want everybody to feel comfortable, and it is kind of a thin line. But I too agree with Amanda. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and I think we're heading towards the new normal, as you keep hearing people say, the new normal, whatever that may be, if that's masks for an extended period of time or whatever the case may be. We'll all adapt, and we'll get through this thing together. But yeah, it's a very good point to bring up. Any other reports or questions, issues? All right, I guess the meeting is adjourned then.
Mayor Webb? No.
Meeting adjourned.
Yes. Yes, no, you're good. You missed it. No, I'm joking. Tanya.
Can I just give you a little bit of information
Absolutely,
about
please.
another project
Please
that's going
do,
on,
yeah.
because we're trying to get the word out to the
Sure.
public. So through the CARES Act, Washington County, Virginia got some monies, and we've created a task force. So $1.2 million is available for small businesses. Small businesses can apply for that money through washcova.com. So
Okay.
there's an application process. They are eligible for lost revenue or supplies for COVID, during the COVID pandemic. So if they've made adjustments to their business and put up plexiglass or gloves or masks, so they can go on there and apply. Small businesses must have 30 employees or less, and they're eligible for between $1,000 and $20,000. So anything that you guys can do to help us get the word out about that would be helpful.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Tanya.
Yeah, thank you, yeah. All right. Ken. And probably this is while we're still not adjourned, it's probably a good time to go ahead and say, I know everybody's probably wondering what we're going to do about the fifth council seat. And this is probably a good time to put a plug in that we are, the council is currently reviewing. We received all of the applications that were submitted, and we're reviewing those. And we have plans to go ahead and interview people next week. We're moving along very quickly, and we hope to appoint somebody at the August 3rd meeting and have that fifth council seat not vacant anymore. So anyways, probably a good time to plug that. Thank you, Cam, for the reminder. And if nothing else, the meeting is adjourned. Thanks.
That was fast.